Welcome into the Sources Say podcast, your go-to Kentucky basketball and recruiting podcast on the growing KSR Podcast Network, presented as always by our friends at Club Blue. Club Blue is the official collective partner of the University of Kentucky. I am your host, Jack Pilgrim of Kentucky Sports Radio. Very excited to be joined once again for a Thanksgiving treat. I am Jack Pilgrim, so Pilgrim Thanksgiving. You gotta. We couldn't not do a Thanksgiving themed Sources Say edition or Thanksgiving edition of Sources Say. Sean, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
I am fantastic, Jack Pilgrim. How are you?
Oh, I'm just better. I couldn't be better. I'm feeling absolutely jazzed for a very fun. This is my holiday. I get all the jokes all year long about Pilgrim. Do you like Thanksgiving? How did it feel to come over on the Mayflower? But I deal with it all year long to get to this precious moment. So yes, I am thrilled about the opportunity to have Thanksgiving tomorrow. Much more than Kirk Kriisa. I don't know if you saw the video. Kirk Kriisa hates Thanksgiving, or at least the food behind Thanksgiving. So we gotta, whatever goes on tomorrow night at the Pope household, we gotta make sure that the meal is sufficient enough to get him to buy into the Thanksgiving spirit, because he, not a huge fan. That was something I learned about him from Estonia. He's just not a huge fan of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Thanksgiving. I'll say that. I'm a huge fan of Thanksgiving, but no, that's an interesting thing about Kerr, and maybe an experience at the Popes will change that. Maybe they'll cook up something good.
Absolutely. Well, we are here. We're going to do kind of a little interesting potpourri, if you will, of content for tonight. Obviously breaking down Kentucky's win over Western Kentucky to claim the BBN Invitational Championship. Hell yeah, guys. Woohoo! Confetti cannons, trophies, bring out the ladders and scissors to cut down the nets. We are champions. We are the champions of the BBN Invitational. We'll talk a little bit about that, but we'll get silly. We'll talk some Thanksgiving stuff. We asked for questions on KSBoard. Got a lot of themed questions about, if Pat Kelsey was a Thanksgiving dish, what would he be? Things like that. It's a really fun episode that we have planned. Not going to drag it on too long, even though we say that every single time, and it inevitably happens every time. But this one is going to be the one that we managed to keep it short and sweet. But Sean, solid, not totally comfortable win for Kentucky over Western Kentucky, but I don't know about you. I kind of wanted to see Kentucky in that type of game, get them into a rock fight where they weren't just getting threes and open looks at will, however they wanted to get their shots. I wanted to see them really uncomfortable and have to kind of dig in and grind out a win. And I think Western Kentucky, as we said going into this show, into the game, that's a really well-coached team. There's a lot of talent, experience, savvy, veteran-led team that we kind of knew that they were going to give Kentucky a good shot, and they gave them about all they could handle, and it still resulted in a 19-point win. So a lot to like there. Other things not necessarily to like, Sean.
No, I mean, obviously you're going to have games throughout a long season that aren't going to look as pretty as some others, and you got to win in a different fashion and in a different way and type of different styles of play. But, we were talking about it the night before when we recorded on Monday night about this one was going to be different than the other non-conference games not named Duke. Like, this was going to be an opponent that's going to come in and challenge you a little bit more. They're going to be physical, and they fouled a lot. It mucked it up. They took Kentucky out of their transition game, but what Kentucky didn't get in transition, Jack, I thought that they really got in the half court, and I thought that you got to see Kentucky be able to execute a different style of play to where they're not always getting pressure in the corners, pressure at the rim, but they executed sets. And Mark Pope, what you're getting now, and you're going to see this every single game, whatever they draw up as a first set has a high success rate. Like yesterday, it was Andrew Carr off a back screen to get an easy bucket with Jackson Robinson setting the back screen. Like, that's putting you in a pickle right from the beginning, because you got to be aware of Jackson Robinson shooting the basketball, and Andrew Carr gets an easy basket. So I think one of my most exciting parts of a Kentucky basketball game is that opening tip and the first possession that Kentucky runs, because Mark Pope has something dialed up to set the tone in the half court. But it was just the half court game that I thought really carried Kentucky last night. Defensively, they continue to defend the three-point line from a percentage standpoint very, very well. And that is something that is refreshing, because most of the time this year, this point of the season, we're all the time talking about some random name that comes into Rupp Arena and goes off for 45, 50% from three. We're not getting those same things. Now, Kentucky didn't shoot it as well, obviously, but they found a way to still win by 19, Jack. And you're seeing teams drop all around college basketball to unranked teams and such. Just keep winning and find different ways to win. And I thought Kentucky did.
Yeah, Pope was thrilled. Like, not in the sense of, oh yeah, everything's fine offensively, we just missed some shots. They were like, no, we got a really sloppy rock fight. We really enjoyed kind of getting Western's best look, and the way they really mucked things up and just threw some exotic looks at them. And you can tell that the game plan is very, very good, and the scout is very, very good, because both Andrew Carr and Kobe Brea before the game on Monday both talked about the defensive looks. And the sexy thing to talk about with WKU is the pace. The top 15 tempo in college basketball. Everybody wants to talk about how fast they get up and down the floor, but that was kind of like third or fourth or fifth thing that the players talked about going into it, and said, no, we're expecting it. They're going to throw some exotic looks at us defensively, and we know that they will have a game plan drawn up for us to try to limit us from the 3-point line. We have a goal of hitting 35, and they do not want us to get 35 up. So it's going to be kind of one of those internal battles of whose scout is a little bit better, whose game plan is going to, execute a little bit better. And to WKU's credit, they forced him off the line, made him really uncomfortable, and, held him to a season low. The first time out of 6 tries that they weren't able to hit 10 threes in a single game. So credit to WKU, but Mark Pope talked about that, said, like, we wanted to win a game like this. We wanted to see them kind of buckle up and figure out how to claw one out and do it on the defensive end. So that he was thrilled with the defensive effort, so that they really threw a lot at him, and it kind of turned into a slugfest on the defensive end of the floor, when most people just on paper expected it to be a 101 to 90 type of game. It ended up being kind of more of a slower pace, kind of muck it up and see how we can a slugfest. So I really enjoyed that part of it, Sean.
I did too. And like I said, you have to win games in different ways. And as a head coach, you want to see your team kind of navigate those waters and say, okay, we can win a game playing this style of play. A team can muck it up on us and we still comfortably win by 19 points. Like, I know that WKU kept it there within 10 for a majority of it, and stretches where it would get down to 7 or to 6 or go back to 8. And Kentucky wasn't able to get those long runs that pushed games out like they had in others. But at no point did I feel like Western was going to win the game. But they played their style, and they gave themselves a chance to stay in it and compete. And Kentucky didn't try to kind of do anything crazy. They just stayed the course. They executed in the half court, and they closed the game out. Now, free throw line, what was the overall percentage? They were under 70%, I believe.
29 of 42. Yep, 69%. So
got to the line a lot more. We were talking about a team that has been shooting a high number of threes, and they still got to a really good number from three-point range. But coming off of 37, 38, 39 three-point attempts the game before, when you shoot a high number of threes, you'll usually see those teams not get to the free throw line as much. But in this game, they got there and took 40-plus attempts. Now, would like to see them hit more when they get a game like that, especially against maybe a better opponent when they get into SEC play or some of these games coming up in the non-conference. But overall, Jack, like they're showing you that they can win games in different ways. That consistency that we've been talking about, that word consistent, it's showing up when it comes to they consistently have someone different stepping up. Like last night, it was Andrew Carr's night. Like Andrew Carr shows up and does his thing and had a really productive game, probably his most productive game since the Duke game. Then you have Otega Oweh doing things. Kobe Brad didn't hit the shots that he had been hitting, but you still get something. You got a great overall night from Lamont Butler. So the balance that Kentucky has there and the consistency of knowing that someone different is going to show up, it was still present, even though they didn't shoot it well from three or get to that 10 to 15 made three number that we've been talking so much about in the early season. But hey, that's a team that's going to compete in its conference to be in the NCAA tournament. They have NCAA tournament experience on that roster, on that coaching staff. They play a certain way to give them a chance to win. When you're a team like Kentucky, you got to be able to win in different styles, different ways. These teams that they're playing right now, Jack, they can only win one way. That's what they're built to win as, where these teams that you're looking at winning a national championship, competing to a Final Four, they got to do it in a variety of ways, and you got to be able to have some consistency and balance there. And I think Kentucky's showing it. Even though it wasn't the prettiest night, it was an effective night.
Another game crushed the magic number of 39%, trying to keep that defensive number under 40%. 31.8 held WKU, and 15.4. I mean, 4 of 26. Some of them were open looks, but really, you got an all-around effort from, Jackson Robinson played probably his best defensive game, in my opinion. He had a really strong game against Duke, obviously, but the next level of competition down, I thought he was tremendous once again. Otega did his thing again, proving that he's probably the best player on the team at this point. And then Lamont Butler, another really solid outing for him. Really tough first half for Amari Williams before he kind of figured himself out both physically and emotionally. I thought he got a little down in the dumps, let kind of his head hang a little bit, and I just didn't think the body language was great for him. So I appreciated his response in the second half. That was a little disappointing to see, the turnovers continue to kind of pile up for him, and he needed to kind of figure himself out and kind of dig himself out of his own little hole, and he definitely did that there at the very end. Andrew Carr, once again, I liked that Pope said that he's a guy that he's putting on himself to kind of demand the ball and say, hey, I'm going to take ownership of this possession. The offense is going to play through me for a change. He's been a really nice complementary piece, play within the offense, and definitely not try to assert himself too much. He said that, talking to him a couple of different interview opportunities, he said, it took me a minute to kind of figure myself out in this offense and just know where I fit and where to kind of interject myself. Like, we know that he has the talent, but when just having the comfort to step up and say, okay, now it's my time. He first did it against Duke, and it was tremendous. That was his best performance as a Wildcat to start with. And then he follows it up once again, kind of playing through him and saying, all right, things are sloppy and we're not getting shots to fall, and we're out of rhythm, out of sorts a little bit. I'm going to be the one to kind of break that up a little bit. So there really was a lot to like about Andrew Carr's performance. But Otega and Andrew Carr, those two kind of going hand in hand with, being the best, most consistent player, night in, night out on both ends of the floor for Kentucky. That's a really, really positive development.
Yeah, it really is. And when you're starting to look at this rotation, it's starting to kind of figure itself out, right? Like, minutes are starting to reflect some things when you look at where they're going. Guys are playing less. Some guys are getting now north of 30 when that wasn't the case through the first 3 or 4 games. Was it 3 guys that played 30? I don't have the box score from me. I was trying to pull it up.
A third played 29 and Lamont played 28. So
you're getting somewhere.
Four guys, 28 or more.
So you're seeing some trust being built between Mark Pope and individual players. And now obviously Amari Williams is going to be, for Pope, the goal is to have him in that same window. But on nights where he's struggling, 6 turnovers, I believe, was the line for him, last night. Like, that's something that's got to be cleaned up, because I think Kentucky as a team had 11, if I'm not mistaken.
They did,
so
yes.
you can't have one guy contributing to more than 50% of that turnover number. You got to be able to take care of the ball and value possessions, especially at that spot on the floor. But when you've got a guy like Andrew Carr who feels comfortable in doing the same things that Amari can do offensively, you've got a little bit of some insurance there that you can rely on him. And then obviously Brandon Garrison, gives you stretches to where he is a key contributor on this roster. But to me now, you've got one more before you got to have a lot of things right. And still got to win, but I don't know if any of us would have predicted 3 weeks ago that Kentucky could be ranked higher than Gonzaga when that game is played next weekend.
Man.
But that's the part that we're at now. West Virginia looked really good today. And like they played inspired basketball. They did a lot of good things. Gonzaga, now these tournaments and things that you're playing in, it creates a different atmosphere because the scouts are different, because they're right on top of each other and things, and the preparation and all the travel. But you're seeing teams lose, and here's Kentucky sitting number 8 in the country. I don't know if going into December we really had this team penciled in as a top 5 team, but when the polls come out on Monday, as long as they win, Jack, they could be right there depending on what shakes out over the remainder of the week. You're in a great spot. You just got to keep playing your style of play, getting comfortable with who you are as a rotation, and I'm starting to see that now. Kerr and some of these other guys, I think minutes are going to increase as you go throughout. But for the most part, you've seen this kind of condensed down to who the core guys are on this roster, with a couple of guys that they're still bringing along, hoping to get them more comfortable as they go.
Yeah, you're talking about just some of the landscape of college basketball where we are right now. 12 in the Ken Palm right now. It's 6-0, 14th offensively, 27 defensively. You look ahead of us, Auburn is just steamrolling the competition. That's the best team in college basketball, in my opinion. But you go down the list, Tennessee at 2, they've looked, solid but beatable at times, kind of some ups and downs, but very, very good team. Houston, 2 losses. Duke, 2 losses back-to-back, or one this week, and then UConn went back-to-back losses this week. Gonzaga just took a loss. They're 5-1. Iowa State 5-1. Alabama 5-1. And you, like you said, you look and these other teams are kind of eating each other alive in these high-profile events, while Kentucky's like, we already took care of business against Duke. They could kind of – it's funny. Like, we were higher on, national analysts going into the year, I think, and thinking that this was a team that was going to kind of live in this range at some point this season. But I don't think even myself, I didn't think that they would get there as quickly as they did. So I feel like they were a little underrated to start with, and now they're kind of getting the credit that they deserve quicker than I was expecting. And now it's like, well, I kind of thought we'd be having these conversations after they win and maybe beat Gonzaga on the road or, whatever. It's interesting that we're in this position where they could – kind of fall back if they did happen to lose against Gonzaga or slip up at Clemson or whatever the case is they're kind of in that unique, they were undervalued. Now are they maybe overvalued or just valued in general where they're supposed to? I don't know. Interesting spot.
And I think that, honestly, I take a lot out of a 19-point win last night just because of how the game was played. There were a lot of fouls. I think Western fouled. I think they committed 29 fouls last night. And they had a lot of dudes in the game with 4. Like, that's a high number of fouls across your roster, which then led to free throw attempts for Kentucky. But you find a way to win those games, and they're not 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-point games down the stretch. You find a way to win by 19 on a night where you didn't shoot it as well from 3. So I know there's going to be some questions about, does that worry you if Kentucky goes 8 of 29 for 3 against a quality opponent? Not as much if they're still able to get to the free throw line, if they're still going to defend at the clip that they're defending right now. Like, that's where kind of my confidence is in this team, is they're further ahead defensively than what I thought they were going to be. And that is really encouraging for when you're talking about not just being a second weekend team as your maybe preseason goal for a lot of us, more so now that they're in that range of teams that I'm looking at that maybe is Final Four caliber early in the season. Now, you named some of those teams a minute ago. Tennessee, we know what Tennessee is. Tennessee is fueled by stops. And when they played Baylor, it was stop after stop after stop after stop, and Baylor could not score, and that thing balloons, and you look up and, man, like, Tennessee is really wearing Baylor out here. That is who Tennessee is. We know that. That's no surprise. Kentucky's going to have to execute and win offensively to win that matchup. Auburn, I was getting texts the other night during the first half that everybody's like, man, Auburn's not any good. No, Auburn's elite. Auburn's really, really good. And that field, though, when you're looking at some of these games that have been played there, like Dayton has gone wire to wire with some teams. Like there are some really good mid-major programs still in college basketball that I think are going to be right there. But resume purposes, man, is anybody putting together a better non-conference resume than Kansas right now? North Carolina win. Obviously, the Champions Classic victory. They just beat Duke. Duke is getting crushed by youth late in games right now against quality opponents. Like Duke is very talented, but the youth factor has prevented them. Kentucky beat Duke. I'm not even going to say that it was just youth with Duke, but like last night, even with Hunter Dickinson out, Duke still made some mistakes down the stretch that they couldn't overcome. Kentucky's old,
coaching
Jack.
too.
Yes, and coaching. Bill Self, there was an advantage in the coaching box last night. Now I know Shire drew up a great set late to get a good look, but Kahn left his feet and made a turnover on a possession where they had a chance before the last possession Kansas got. But coaching matters, experience matters. Kentucky's got a lot of it on its roster, and I think it's got a coach. I thought Mark Pope made some really good adjustments last night too, and playing to what WKU does. And, I mentioned the opening game set, but they followed it with another look where they kind of X the post. It was almost like a split action where it was a post touch. They get them caught in a switch, and Jackson Robinson gets a wide open three. So even though they weren't getting in transition and doing some things, I saw coaching and adjustments being made in a different style of play for Kentucky. So I'm confident in what Kentucky's got on the sidelines as well as what they got on the floor, even though it wasn't the prettiest, Jack. There's going to be a couple more games this year Kentucky's going to have to win in that same fashion. And the good teams find a way to do it.
Yeah, it really was. I know in real time there were a lot of people that, it looked like just sitting there at Rupp that you would look up at the Jumbotron and it would be, 9 points. And you're like, okay, we feel like the momentum is about to, the dam is about to bust open and Kentucky's about to go on its run to, win by 30 or whatever. And then they'd hit, a couple of shots to get back up to 12, 15 or whatever. And then WKU would respond back with, two big shots or, whatever the way and get it back down to 9 or 10. Or they felt like we lived in that 9 to 12 point range the entire game. And, to Kentucky's credit, they didn't let that momentum flip the other direction where they weren't making shots and let WKU make it closer, too close for comfort. As you said earlier in the show, it never felt like it was a loss was within reach, but it also never felt like, Kentucky had firmly a blowout firmly established until they're very late. Then the fatigue kind of set in, and the depth that Kentucky has and the talent just really started kind of wear and tear. It got down to 6, and then I think 3 minutes later it was back up to 15, and then by just a couple minutes later beyond that it was up to 20, 21. So it was exactly what I wanted to see. I've seen this team make a bunch of threes. I've seen them, play free, willy-nilly offense. Like I've seen them in their comfort zone. How do they adjust when they're out of their comfort zone, not on the big stage against Duke? Like how do they, in their own environment where it's like, okay, we got to respond to adversity. How can we do that? I wanted to see how they would do that. We hadn't seen it up to that point. So I really, really enjoyed their ability to take it, analyze it as it was coming, metabolizing it, as Mark Pope said after the game, and just kind of digesting it and figuring it out in real time. I thought they really executed well down the stretch. It was very, very good.
Well, one more note. When you look at box scores and you look at games and how they're played, when it comes to Kentucky's thing, Jack, you just can't go entirely empty in an area, right? Like, and they didn't. They still made 8 threes. They still had 16 assists on 25 made shots. Even though they weren't making threes at the same clip that they had been, the ball's still moving, and they're still getting buckets. They made more free throws last night. So what they didn't get in that those 3-point attempts that they were missing or 3-point makes, they kind of got that same output in points at the free throw line. So it's different ways, and you still see them. Like, what was the final total last night? 80. What was the final score? I usually see it on the screen. We have it up here.
87-68.
87-68. So, I mean, you're still getting – I mean, how many times have we watched Kentucky in the past where they struggled to get out of the low 70s on nights where they didn't shoot well from three-point line? So they make up for it in other ways. Now, when they rebounded well, over 50 rebounds as a team.
54. 54 to 41.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about all the other areas that they were really good in, that's where I'm not putting too much concern on just making 8 made threes. Western shooting 4 of 26. Had that been Kentucky shooting 4 of 26, then maybe we're talking about a different game, because then you're losing. Obviously, there's 4 made threes that Kentucky got that Western didn't get, so then you wipe out 12 points. But getting to the free throw line, you have to look at the overall game. And what you maybe did less in one area, did you increase somewhere else, or did you make up the difference? And sure, Kentucky's going to have nights where they shoot it more efficiently and still get to the free throw line and score, and there's a balance there. But I thought that they were able to play a different version of a game here, where it slowed down at times, and it got mucky, of course, and you had a lot of fouls, and you got to the free throw line more, but they still put out a 19-point win. And I think that's impressive in its own form.
And 16 offensive rebounds. That was something where it was always kind of the devil's advocate of, hey, we're not racking up the offense, not attacking the offensive glass the way we want. It was such a point of emphasis early, but there was always the caveat of, but they're making a lot of threes, so there aren't as many offensive rebound opportunities. This was our first time where we saw them not make as many and thrive on the offensive glass, rack up 16. So you're starting to see the balance. You're starting to see things, where it's not going to always be sunshine and rainbows launching threes at will. Sometimes they're going to get a good defensive game plan, or they're going to have to adjust. And I just really loved, like you said, the second half adjustments when they really, when it got down to 6 and they said, okay, this could swing one way or the other, where we could go into danger zone, or we can, kind of level the ship a little bit, get this thing back on track and turn it back into a blowout, and ended it with got it up by as many as 21 and it closed out at 19. Gotta love how they were able to close that out.
Once again, if you get to that number of threes taken, 36, 37, you're probably talking about a total output of maybe hitting 11 to 12. So then your number looks different, but it's the not forcing the issue. Like, oh, we're 8 of 29. Let's go find a way to shoot 7 more. Like, I don't think that there's I don't think anything that Kentucky does is forced to me, and they're comfortable doing a variety of things. Jackson Robinson made a beautiful back cut last night off a feed to, I believe it was Amari that hit him on the back cut. And like, that's just a natural chemistry that is developed. Jackson was really good at those similar cuts at BYU. And I think you're going to see him get more comfortable here at Kentucky doing those same cuts. But overall, Jack, a very good night. Not the prettiest night, but hey, it's a 19-point win where you still score almost 90.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to transition into, we got a bunch of KSBoard questions to go through. We're going to try to keep this, it's going to be 30 minutes, but clearly not going to happen unless we go through at hyper speed. So
it's not possible for me and you to condense a show into 30
45.
minutes.
We got a hard out at 45. So we're going to go through these questions really, really fast. But before that, Club Blue is the official collective partner of the University of Kentucky. Club Blue was founded by UK fans strictly to support the NIL efforts at the University of Kentucky. Unlike most collectives, 100% of subscriber money goes and 100% of donor money goes directly to NIL. Club Blue charges no fees. Club Blue subscribers receive some amazing benefits like invitations to special events, meet and greets with UK athletes, signed merchandise, monthly giveaways, ticket giveaways, Club Blue merch, and more. Subscribe today at www.clubblue.com. clubbluenil.com. You get to pick which sport you want to support when you sign up. Choose your sport and support with Club Blue. We're also very excited to announce our new, and I guess it's been a couple weeks now, we're very excited about our friends with WonderFan. WonderFan is a first of its kind basketball arena rewards app where fans earn real rewards simply by cheering for their favorite team. All you need to do is head to the App Store to download the app. Check in once you are at the game. Let the earnings grow. It's that easy. During each game you attend, you'll earn in the background once you press start. Once you have enough earnings, you can redeem for gift cards to your favorite brands like Fanatics, Dick's, Lululemon, StubHub, Home Depot, and many more. There's even ticket giveaways and fun contests. You can use your points to enter. New rewards are added weekly. Right now, users will get 50 free Wonder just for signing up. That'll score you a $10 off Fanatics code and a chance to win tickets to the national championship. Plus, we have a special deal for listeners on this show. After signing up, head to your profile page and redeem code KSR for an additional 40 free Wonder. Again, that is code KSR. So head to the App Store, search WonderFan. That is WUNDERFAN, and start being paid for your fan loyalty. WonderFan, it pays to be a fan. And while we're just knocking these out, might as well just hit the trifecta with our friends at Game Time. Kentucky basketball games under Mark Pope are absolute must-watch events. I don't know if you've seen the crowds, but they've been just about sellouts every single time. And instead of just watching the games, why don't you go be a part of them with Game Time? You get the sound from the court, the feel of the crowd, and you don't forget about the celebrity sightings. We saw Jasper Johnson, we saw some of these other guys, Dickie Lyons Jr. I really enjoyed seeing him last night there as well. That's not just Kentucky games, but all sports and events, including concerts and shows. Use Game Time and its new feature called Game Time Picks to make your life even easier, filtering out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. with Game Time Picks, all in pricing. You get to toggle this feature to show the total up front. No surprise fees at checkout. That is my favorite personally. I hate when you get the surprise at the end where you think you're getting a ticket for a certain price and then it's doubled with the stupid fees. Hate that. Glad that we have the all-in pricing with Game Time. And then the seat views. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy the lowest price guarantee. Or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code KSR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code KSR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. That one was a lot. But we're good. We're good. We got a lot of fun questions I think you will definitely appreciate. And guess what? Sean, you have no idea what's coming at you. So I'm really excited to kind of throw some curveballs at you and really put you on the spot for some of these because they get ridiculous. Some of them are serious basketball, like, X and O. Let's test your coaching mind a little bit. That's always fun. But I'm really excited to throw some real weird curveballs at you.
Can it get any more off the rails than Pat Kelsey and dumbbells or bench pressing? Because if it goes if it goes beyond that, I don't know. Maybe you will catch me off guard.
Well, one of them was my favorite that actually kind of has a similar theme to that. And I kind of hinted at it at the start of the show, but let's start with this. If Pat Kelsey was a Thanksgiving food or dish, what would he be?
God. Well,
somebody responded and said cornbread stuffing, not as good as the real thing, but someone always brings it and everyone pretends that they like it. But let's be honest, we just rather have the regular stuffing. Kind of funny.
What would you go with?
Man,
I'm not a green bean casserole guy at all. Like I kind of stay away from that.
I'm gonna go with the for the love of the game. That's a really good response because I try to make a short joke, but like what food strawberry shortcake, but that's not themed because it's not a right dessert for the holiday. Like I don't know, man. I wish there was a shortbread something, it's not coming to me. It's not speaking to me the way it should, but the cornbread stuffing is very, very good.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat said Pat Kelsey is spam. That's not very Thanksgiving themed.
No, it's not. It is not. I was trying to think what I would go with, but I have a feeling I'm going to get crushed for the green bean casserole thing. I'm sure there's a lot of people that probably like.
I like it. It's good. I think that's actually what we're making tomorrow for Katie's parents' Thanksgiving. So
I'm not much of a casserole at all.
Yeah. Jacob Polachek says best kind of Thanksgiving pie. Very fascinating. Kirk Risa doesn't like pie or doesn't like any Thanksgiving food, but if he does like food, he's okay with pumpkin pie. But then asks, "Isn't there something with like apple?" And I was like, "Apple pie?" He was like, yeah, that." I'm like, as opposed to what else? Like, yeah, obviously apple pie. And then he said that apple pie is, it's an old people that in Italy, old people eat apple pie because they're losing their teeth. And then he said, "There's a fun fact for you." And then that was his final, that's that end of statement. That was how he ended. And it was like, all right, Kirk, sounds good. So what is your Thanksgiving pie? We know that Kirk Reese's is, I guess, pumpkin pie, and maybe if he's losing his teeth, apple. But what is yours?
Mine is pumpkin pie, and we got free pumpkin pies at school yesterday. All teachers and staff got free pumpkin pies, and I kid you not. So I'm obviously not in Lexington right now. I'm visiting my parents, and I left both pumpkin pies at my house.
Ooh.
So I guess there's a positive to that I don't have to share my pumpkin pie. And now when I go back home on Friday night, Saturday morning, I've got 2 pumpkin pies. And that the bad side of that is I have 2 pumpkin pies.
That's troubling.
That is very troubling. And by Monday, I'll probably have no pumpkin pies.
I'm going to throw down some pumpkin pie tomorrow. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Like, I've been preparing myself for it. I'm going to throw down, although I actually prefer apple pie with a big dollop of delicious vanilla bean ice cream on top. There's nothing better than that combo of nice warm apple pie with a big fat thing of vanilla ice cream on top. Nothing beats it. But in the spirit of the season, pumpkin pie is absolutely undefeated. Drew Franklin, you may have heard of him, says, name 3 UK players you would trust to host and prepare a Thanksgiving meal for your family.
3 UK players overall?
You trust? We'll go overall, which can include current. You trust to host and prepare a Thanksgiving meal for your family.
Man.
Okay, I think this one's pretty easy. Trey Mitchell, old man, guy knows his way around a kitchen, I'm sure, been around the block. He's not like a 17-year-old going to college for the first time that, oh crap, I got to just eat ramen noodles every single night. Like, he's cultured, and he knows that, his way around a kitchen. He's had an apartment for a couple of years. You got to get somebody that's experienced. So I think the easy answer here is probably this team. There's probably several of them. Andrew Carr, that dude absolutely feels like he can make a dish. And then Reed Travis, I feel like is a sous chef somewhere right now. Like, wherever he is playing overseas, I feel like he owns some type of some type of kitchen somewhere, wherever he's playing. I don't know where that is, but I feel like that's probably the best bet. You got to get the old heads, because they know the way around a kitchen in a way that Trent Noah would have no idea. Like, you think Trent Noah knows how to make a big time meal? No chance. In a couple of years maybe, but not right now.
I'm going to go Isaiah Briscoe. Didn't he have a restaurant? Didn't he like have a restaurant chain or something? Like, I know that doesn't mean he's cooking.
It wasn't a restaurant. It was a bodega, which is like, a convenience store in New York City. So, he knows how to purchase goods. Doesn't necessarily mean that he can cook
I was
going
to say Nate Sestina too. I was
Nate's
going to say,
probably, and he's living overseas now. I bet that he's, knows his way around. Like, oh, I like this food. I don't like, he's world traveled, so he definitely has a wider palate now. I definitely think that's probably but hosting too, that's an important part. We got to make sure that they have like, a tidied house, and like, do we trust these guys to not be, live in pigsties? That's an important part too. And we actually saw Nate in his own apartment while he was on this show, and it looked pretty clean to me. I think he could have hosted Thanksgiving, if you ask me.
yeah, I would go with those two, and I'm trying to think on a third. I don't know.
It's more serious. P. Naj says, seems like this team struggles with pressure defense. Is this something that will get easier as the teams get more and more comfortable with the team gets more and more comfortable with the offense? And then oddest Turkey Day traditions. You answer the pressure defense question. I will come up with an odd Turkey Day tradition.
Yeah, the pressure defense stuff I think is something that will just improve as the season goes along and things. And then, and two, as these lineups continue to kind of condense and guys play maybe a certain minutes and the combinations that they want to go with, I think that Mark Pope is probably still figuring out, who ought to put in certain spots. Like, there are things, it may be hard to believe, but there are still a lot of things that I think Pope is learning about his team. And in situations when it comes to handling pressure, whether it be the full length of the floor or running and trapping in the half court or whatever it is, I think that you're still trying to answer some of those questions about what lineup combinations work. Is it Kirk Chris and Lamont Butler together? Is it Kobe Brea and Jackson Robinson with some more size on the perimeter? Like those things. But I'm not worried about that, because overall, their turnover number is not crazy. Like, I know Amari has had his issues in last night, but when one guy's, responsible, or maybe not all those are on Amari. Maybe if you pull the film and look at it, maybe there's some that's on someone else, but he gets credited. Overall, like, I don't think this team is going to struggle with that as they get into SEC play and into even next week, where it's those pressure-packed moments of playing a Clemson on the road or playing Gonzaga on a neutral floor.
Oddest Turkey Day traditions. I would say for me personally, it's that I've had my Christmas lights up for like 3 weeks now. Like, as soon as November hits, we're full steam ahead for Christmas. So I would say that my personally, my weirdest tradition is the fact that for somebody named Pilgrim, I really don't embrace the celebration. Like, we go on these daily walks, take little man in the stroller around the neighborhood, and there's somebody that has a Thanksgiving blow up in their front yard, and I'm like, I've never seen that before in my life, because you see Halloween blow ups with all the scary skeleton and all that stuff, and then you see all of the Christmas stuff. I've never in my life seen a big ass turkey in somebody's front yard, except for right now. And it's like, I'm cool. Like, I'm for it. I support it, but it's just interesting to me how, it does just kind of get like, we celebrate maybe the week of like feast week, we've really this week have gotten into it, but it doesn't feel like in a month long celebration the way it was for Halloween, the way it will be for Christmas. But I'm a Christmas guy. I've been celebrating Christmas for 3 weeks now, and I'm going to continue.
Is it the turnaround where you're taking all your stuff down after Halloween, and then you don't want to just put stuff out for 2 or 3 weeks because you just want to go ahead and get the jump start on Christmas, because then it's like a full 2 months? But
it takes a long time. Like, when you get up on the ladder to hang the lights and to and I have flashing candy canes lining my driveway or the sidewalk up to my house. I have a nativity scene out front, and I have the big bulbs lining the entire driveway, plus lining the house. So I do it rather big at the Pilgrim residence. So I think a big part of it is because it takes so freaking long to put together that you don't want to like rush to take it down. So you do just kind of like, okay, if I'm going to pour this much into it, I'm going to get the most out of it. So yes, no big blow up turkeys in my front yard. Although I support the effort. I support the cause. If that's what you're into, I'm all the way for it. Just not me.
Is cousin Eddie's RV parked out on the street? Are you like full blown Clark Griswold over here with your Christmas lights?
It's funny. Katie, like I get so serious about it. Like I ran out of stakes for the driveway thing. Like whenever I was putting the lights out, and I ran out for whatever reason, they were like one short. So I like, all right, I got to go to Lowe's real quick. And she's like, right now, you're dropping everything that you're doing right now to go get one freaking stake for a driveway light, like just one, not a bulb, not just like a whole strand, one light. And I was like, yeah, what's weird about that? She's like, you are Clark Griswold. You are like, that is you to a T. We watched that movie again, like way too soon. We watched it like 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And like, that was right when I was in the middle of putting my display together. She was like, this is so you. Like this, we are watching you right now. And like, it's super nostalgic. I'm a very like soft, like nostalgic, like, very heartwarming, like, oh my gosh, sentimental. Like that's me to a T. If you know me personally, like that's how I am. So I really get, bought in.
But I guess you don't go full dad mode though now until you get a big ass blow up turkey in front of your house. So do you see one coming in the future?
Man. I just don't know when I would,
because put it next to Santa.
It'd be too late to do it right now. Like you would theoretically, if you were to do it, you would still have it until Thanksgiving and then take it down going in. And then like in my mind, November 28th through December 25th, that window's way too short. Like that's not enough time. So no, I think I'm anti. I think I'm firmly against blow up turkeys, even though, I support it if you are, but I put too much into my craft for outdoor decorations and Christmas to ruin that. I'm sorry. Let's keep rolling through these 47 minutes. We already missed our 45-minute window.
Might as well go an hour at this point.
Gosh, I'm just the worst. I'm so sorry. Ken Dry says, can Almanor play another season? I've been like getting into this for the last couple weeks because I keep like changing my mind with it, where I just had in my mind that he was out of eligibility. He was announced to Kentucky with 1 year of eligibility remaining, but it's weird. He has, only played 4 years, coming in 2021, 2022 season. So he played 22, 23, 24, and now 25. So he should be out, but it's just such a weird, complicated thing with eligibility now that like, does anybody ever run out of eligibility? Hunter Dickinson is in his 37th year of college basketball. Why does he get to play as many years as he wants to, but Ainsley Almanor, if he wants another one, he doesn't get it? I don't know. I don't think so. I come to the conclusion he doesn't. But very unlikely that he will get one, but it's so complicated.
Was it you had to be in college athletics during the COVID season?
My understanding is
that is my understanding, and he was not, right? If it was 21, 22, 23, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's the catch. Is you had to have had some type of collegiate season impacted by COVID, mm-hmm. in some form or fashion when all that was getting canceled. So I'm going to lean no, because I don't think that UK would have put that out as one season of eligibility remaining had they not already kind of combed through that, mm-hmm. when it comes to getting him on campus, it's unfortunate because he still, to me, is the perfect role guy, that mm-hmm. he's still going to have games where I think he's going to play more minutes than what he's played maybe the last few. Like there's going to be an Almanor game. I'm telling you, somewhere in,
I agree,
maybe non-conference or SEC play, there's going to be an Almanor game where he plays 18 to 22 minutes and makes a significant impact on winning for this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. Go Big Blue 94. Talk to us about the Aaron Bradshaw situation if you can. I don't think anybody is correct in what they've been reporting publicly. I think it is a personal, private issue that will not impact Kentucky with vacating wins and the stuff that fans are worried about with like, oh God, we're going to get put on the death, get the death penalty. I don't think any of that is real. I feel pretty strongly that people, I think, just got a little carried away with the verbiage of the federal privacy law stuff that has been thrown out there. In that has kind of let the vague nature of that verbiage has kind of just allowed the smoke to kind of billow into something bigger than it is. I think it's his own personal situation. I'm not going to get into it. I don't think the domestic thing that was even reported out of Columbus, I don't think that's even totally accurate. The stuff I've heard is it's his own private situation that, he needs to deal with privately. And, I'm not going to, that's on him. It's his story. It's his situation that he needs to deal with privately, but it's not going to impact Kentucky in my opinion, my educated opinion. So I would not worry about that if I was a Kentucky fan. Have no idea if he's going to be playing by the time the CBS Sports Classic rolls around. We will see. But I think people are kind of getting a little talking out of place with that one, if you ask me. Do you have any feel for when in the December-January timeline Caleb Wilson is likely to officially become a Cat? I like the confidence that to officially become a Cat. I do agree with him. I do think that is going to be the case. I think it's going to be December. I do think that we'll hear something in the next couple of weeks, and I do think Kentucky is the overwhelming favorite. I appreciate. I've heard from several different people that Kentucky, other schools think, other people involved think that Kentucky is like, if not a done deal, like just, waiting to push it across the finish line. Kentucky is approaching it in a way of saying it's not over till it's over, which is a really valuable thing in recruiting to me, where you ask them point blank, hey, but we going to get Caleb? How are we feeling about Caleb? I don't know. We'll see. We're really trying hard to close on that one, and that's exactly what you want with your coaching staff. You don't want them to get too big-headed and think that it's a done deal when it's not. So I think that they are pushing to close, but there's nothing, in the NIL era, and his is a very NIL-centric recruitment, so things could, shift on a dime, literally. But as things stand right now, I think Kentucky's in an unbelievable spot, would not trade their situation with anybody else, and I do think it's going to be December. NFL football or college basketball on Thanksgiving in the Pilgrim and Smith households. What do you think?
You know where I'm going. Like, I'm a basketball guy. I'm going to watch college basketball over anything, honestly. Like, nothing's going to take precedence over college basketball for me. Like, I've not slept enough because I've been up till 2:00 in the morning watching these games. Like, I know UConn plays late tonight, and obviously Dayton's another. Like, there's so many programs that I'm familiar with where I have spent time on campus with these staffs that I'm watching because I'm watching them for more of a personal level now. So I try to watch Western Kentucky. I try to watch Northern Kentucky. I've been watching Dayton. I watch Tennessee. I watch these programs that I have some familiarity with. So I'm a college basketball guy, though, like through and through.
I am a very big get a glass of red wine and pass out watching NFL games. It's my favorite thing to do. I love just filling my gut with as much Thanksgiving food as possible and the pie and all that stuff, and then getting, a nice red wine, putting it in my little cup holder, sitting next to me with my legs up, watching an NFL game and not watching the NFL game. I love doing it, and I promise you at 4:15, if you try to reach out to me tomorrow, I will be asleep, because that is my absolute beautiful sweet spot. I love that little time frame. So yes, I do very much enjoy NFL. Any other time, college basketball, but I do love NFL on Thanksgiving Day. It's just a very nice tradition for me. Big Blue football fans is cranberry sauce overrated or underrated? Trash, throw in the dumpster, very overrated. Although I love like cranberry and vodka, like the drink. I really enjoy that. So it's kind of interesting how much I love that, but I despise like the cranberry itself. It's weird, very weird. I'm a weird human being, but I don't know if what your thoughts on cranberry.
Nah, not a cranberry sauce guy at all. Nowhere near it.
Yeah,
I put together a video for social media for our program where I was asking our players like, what has to be on your Thanksgiving plate? And when they would say cranberry sauce, I'd be like, ugh, behind the camera. Like
like for somebody to be adamant that it needs to be on their plate, like why? Why do you look at that and go, that's a must for me?
Decoration.
Yeah, it's more of a like I see it as like a garnish. Like, it's not something that you actually use. It's something that you just like. It's for the look. It's for the whatever. Not a fan. Some of these others we do have to wrap this thing up, but we'll do one or two more, and I'll answer the rest. Some of the recruiting questions, some of the ins and outs, the real premium intel stuff. Go be a subscriber. Go subscribe to KSR Plus, and I'll answer all these questions. There's a bunch of them. I'll answer all of them that I missed on here. Steph HS. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but updated record prediction. Has your record opinion changed on this season?
Maybe. So I had 23-8. May add 24-7. Somewhere through there. Like I'm still not changing a ton. Now, you get through the next week unblemished, and you go on the road and you win 2, maybe you start talking me into 25-26. But I still think that this league is tough. I still think they're going to have a slip up somewhere in the non-conference, most likely next week. I just think that the way that schedule works, and I don't think anybody's going 40-0. In college basketball. And then, like I said, we've already talked about how tough this league is with Alabama and Auburn and what Tennessee's going to do, playing them a couple of times. And in these teams in the league, you're going to lose some games. So I'm still going to lean 23-8, but maybe moving more towards 24-7 regular season, which then you take care of business in the league tournament. You're talking a 26-27 win team going into the NCAA tournament. That's on that 2 to 3 seed line. That's a good spot to be in to make a run in March.
I think they're going to lose 5 games in the regular season. I do. I think.
You had some of that cranberry yet? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. No, they're a good team, and
I just get that. I just get the vibe, man. Like they just carry themselves, and I've just heard really, good things behind the scenes that everything that we see publicly, it's even better privately. And I'll talk. There's some stuff that I want to share on the message board that that is definitely more revealing, but just kind of keep it vague. I just hear such good culture defining things that make me feel that this is real, that everything that we're seeing with the foundation that has been laid by Mark Pope is very, very genuine and real. And I think the payoff is going to be very worthwhile. I do think that when you put in such hard work to lay a foundation the way that Pope has, there is a benefit. There is an ultimate payoff. And I do think that is going to lead to, a reward in the sense that it could be one of the best regular seasons we've seen in a long, long time. We're already there. I mean, when you look at just historically, you get to that Gonzaga game and you're unscathed up to that point. You only have to win 2 more. When you match the start of the 2014-15 team, and I know the SEC is tougher now than it was then, you're already kind of putting yourself in, with house money, with how the rest of the season goes, where you're already so far that where is there going to be a stretch where they stack up losses to even get to 8? Because you kind of accounted for 8, including, the Duke or what, the Gonzaga or whatever. So if they can get through this non-conference stretch, man, like where do you see these losses coming from? Because it means that they are one of the best of the best.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I am more now 24-7 than I was 23-8, and because I built in the Duke win, but I said that Clemson would be their first loss. But obviously, I think I even came on here 2 weeks ago and kind of shifted that more towards a win. But Gonzaga, Still want to see a little more from them. I want to watch a little more between now and then, but obviously I think that's going to present a challenge just going across the country right off the heels of coming off a true road game at Clemson. Like, that's a tough week. Now they navigate that unscathed, then we're talking about a team that's not probably going to lose a non-conference game at that point. And when this team and this program does well in the non-conference, those are the years that they really seem to get into that 26, 27 win, 25, 26, 27 win range overall entering the SEC tournament. And then you're talking about one seed on the line, solidified maybe as a 2, and that's different. So, like, you can really put yourself in position over the course of the next 7 to 8 days to really have a conversation entering the league as being one of those 4 or 5 best teams in college basketball. But the league has some of those teams in that same conversation, and I think they're going to beat up on each other some, and that's where the losses are going to come from, but maybe not as many as we had kind of built in early in the season. But there was a question in the chat on the show here that was asking us about Andrew Carr at the 5, and we've not seen it as much since Duke. To me, that is more situational, is why we haven't seen it. When it came down to winning time and execution late, they went to Andrew Carr. And I think when you get back in that same scenario, in that same situation late in games offensively, and you're trying to close someone out, that's when I think you're going to see Mark Pope shift back to Andrew Carr more at the 5 and winning moments. To be fair, we've not had that winning moment situation since Duke. Like, last night didn't get to that point. So I don't think you can kind of recreate the same situations until you're back in those situations again. Now, you see them in those moments. Maybe that's the only times you get it. Maybe you don't get it for a stretch of 10, 12, 13, 14 minutes a game because they're trying to make sure they get what they want out of Amari, get what they want out of Brandon Garrison. But when it comes down to winning time, Jack, it wouldn't shock me if Andrew Carr is their 5.
Yeah, I really liked. I love the wrinkle. You know, that when you need something to kind of just change the pace up and throw something out there to see if it'll work. Andrew has been kind of that guy to emerge at the 5. We've seen it a couple times now, not in long stretches, but crucial stretches. So I do think that he is, as advertised. I really see him, like when he locks in a little bit. We saw it some in the Duke game, and I love it, especially when Amari's kind of not giving you what you need, and Brandon Garrison's very good in spurts, but how sustainable is it long term? They like him in shorter windows and longer, so sometimes you just have to throw that out there, and it's been working. Let's get out of here with this last one, and the rest I'll answer on KSBoard. If you go subscribe and share some intel with recruiting and some of the behind the scenes with draft and roster stuff and kind of big picture updates to come. Name 2 players, past or present, you would trust to host the podcast, and this is from For the Love of the Game. 2 players, past or present, that you would trust to host this show. Again, it's a cop-out answer because he's been on this show and he understands, how to prolong things and move in and get out. Nate Sestina was excellent when he was on here. I think that's an easy one. But somebody, a little out of the more creative, like Rob Dillingham would be amazing on this show. Just the entertainment value and the goofiness. Like, he would really, really crush it, in my opinion. And I think some of his takes would be just hilarious. So I'm going the most unlikely duo of all time, Nate Sestina and Rob Dillingham, is our new co-host to replace us when the time comes.
Marcus Teague and Deron Lamb. They have podcasts.
They literally have a show. Yeah.
I'll tell you this. You know who I really liked on the mic talking basketball? Travis Ford. Like, Travis Ford's going to be one of mine. I would throw Travis Ford in there. I really like the Nate Sestina pick, but I'll go Travis Ford. I'm going to jump. I'll go Travis Ford and Nate Sestina. I think
we go.
that's a really good crew to lock it down. Man, Rob Dillingham would be fun though.
It'd be a blast. He'd be so
Can you
good at this.
imagine? And probably a year from now, we may be saying Kirk Rissa. Can you imagine?
Oh, dude. Oh my God, dude. That actually might be the one for right now.
Travis and Kerr.
Kerr, man, he's good. I love him. And like Pope, just behind the scenes of yesterday's little post game press conference, I was the first person to get over to Kerr afterward, and Pope came up, and it was just me, Pope, and Kerr standing together. And Pope said, you know why KSR jumped out, ran over here quickly to Kerr, because he knows that they're going to try to get you to say something controversial. That's what they always do, just knowing that we just kind of have a good, like, Kerr and I got a good little post game press conference interview vibe. It's good. He always gives me good stuff. But as he was giving his Thanksgiving, saying that he hates Thanksgiving food and thinks it's trash, can't believe that people he would rather go to Cane's, blah blah blah. He goes on his first little tangent, and then somebody else, another reporter, comes up and asks about it and says, "Hey Kerr, spirit of Thanksgiving, what do you what's your favorite Thanksgiving food?" He immediately looks at me and goes, "You want to tell him?" It's like, and I'm like, he's not a fan of Thanksgiving, and guy's like, "What?" And Kerr's like, "Yeah, it's trash." It's a very very good dynamic. But Kerr, he understands how to work a camera very very well. He's very very media savvy. So
technically,
I would absolutely pick him.
Technically, Mark Pope falls into that category. So like you could actually go Mark Pope and Kerr. Like, can you imagine?
That dude, that'd be so good. That would be such a good show.
Yeah, it would. But I'd like Travis Ford and Mark Pope just talking basketball. Two coaches, two former players. But then again, this is basketball content for the University of Kentucky, and Mark Pope is the head coach, so probably disqualifies him for at least the next, hopefully, 15 to 20 years.
I hope so too. For the love of the game, who's the best hooper at KSR? I have a double-double on Rupp Arena's floor. Nobody else can say that they have done that. Zach Gagan will tell you that he is better than me. We've played one-on-one several times, but one-on-one's not a very good, and we've gotten the best of one another several times. Just complementary skills for sure. Haven't played here recently, so we gotta do that for all the marbles. But Zach can hoop a little bit. I can hoop a little bit. I haven't really, I know Nick used to play in high school, but I just don't know a lot more about we have actual stats on Jacob Polachek in high school. With Max Preps, I got him beat. I know I can say with confidence I got him beat.
His assist to turnover ratio, not good.
God bless him. I love that dude with everything I got. And one of the other questions, I'll answer the other ones. He said, Thanksgiving cocktail of choice, going red wine tomorrow, and then some of the other ones like you give John Calipari truth serum, and he has to answer 3 questions honestly. What are your questions? That's getting answered on the message board. Make sure you are subscribed if you want that answered, and everything else. Jack Pilgrim with Sean Smith. We said this was going to be a 30 to 35 minute show. It is an hour and 9 minutes because we suck as human beings. But hey, it's Thanksgiving. I hope that all of you guys get to enjoy your time with your loved ones, your families, and really enjoy this time. We are obviously just unbelievably grateful for each and every single one of you. Mark Pope had a very good gratitude segment on his radio show on Monday, where he just we talked about it on the last show, where he just talked about the importance of stress and gratitude, and living in the moment of where you are, and knowing just not taking any of single moment for granted or anything like that. And so we're kind of in that boat where we appreciate all. We know we say dumb things like Pat Kelsey, dumbbells, and what would he be as a pie and other nonsense. So we appreciate that you guys can join in on the fun with us and do this with us multiple times a week. We are eternally grateful for each and every one of you.
Is this the official poster? Is this the poster that they gave out, or is this different? Because
I don't know. Should be.
I've had a bunch of people DMing me and asking me where I got this poster. So
feels different. Yeah, because there's one where it's them standing up and it's like the Kentucky's team.
That's okay. So this one is from the Millsboro Coca-Cola Company. So
well, there you go.
When I got here, it was here. And I was like, I need a wall decoration tonight. But this is going to be traveling to Lexington with me because remember somebody asked me if my poster was going back up this year. Yeah, it's this one. This one's going to go up next to the Sources Say logo.
There we go.
Maybe they'll cover the light switch.
Because Jimmy James said, "Are you sitting on your toilet? It looks like you put that poster up over your toilet." So, no, unless you are, maybe you are sitting on the toilet. You've been sitting there for a really long time, and I don't think that's very healthy for you.
It's not, but I'm not on my toilet. I'm not. I promise.
Jack Pilgrim, Sean Smith, appreciate all of you guys. As always, we will be back next time. Let's say this weekend's going to be tricky, so we'll see. No promises on when this show is going to be this weekend with the game Friday, then football immediately on Saturday, and then some other Thanksgiving stuff going on. So we'll see on when the post-game show is going to be.
That game at Clemson Tuesday or Monday?
Tuesday. So maybe like a Monday show to preview or something after the holidays. So we'll see. We'll we fit this in, maybe even went a little long specifically to get us to the next one. So appreciate each and every one of you. We will see you next time.